My name is Anastasia Petrova, and that rainy evening at Domodedovo Airport in Moscow changed everything I thought I knew about fate, love, and the fragile threads that bind two strangers together. I had just spent 2 weeks with my mother in our old family dacha outside Yaroslavl, a place where the birch trees whispered secrets from my childhood and the samovar always hummed with stories of simpler days. Mama had been feeling unwell again, her hands trembling as she poured tea, and I had flown there quietly, leaving my empire of steel and oil behind like a forgotten coat. No one knew I was worth $50 billion. Not the press, not my distant relatives, and certainly not the tired-looking man in the airline uniform who would soon upend my world. The terminal was crowded with weary travelers, the air thick with the scent of wet wool coats and strong coffee from the vending machines. I clutched my small carry-on bag, the one Mama had embroidered with tiny blue flowers years ago, and checked the departure board for my flight back to St. Petersburg. Flight SU-214, Gate 37. It was supposed to be routine, just another quiet return to the penthouse overlooking the Neva River where I managed my companies through encrypted calls and late-night strategy sessions. But as I approached the counter, something felt off. The line was longer than usual, voices rising in frustration. "Excuse me," I said softly in Russian to the attendant, my voice carrying the gentle lilt of someone who had grown up speaking both the language of boardrooms and village kitchens. "Is there a delay?" The young woman behind the desk looked harassed, her dark hair pinned back severely. "Technical issues, miss. But let me check." She typed rapidly, then frowned. Before she could respond, a tall man in his mid-30s strode up from the staff area. His name tag read Dmitry Ivanov, and his broad shoulders filled out the Aeroflot uniform with an authority that made heads turn. His face was handsome in that rugged Russian way. High cheekbones, a jaw shadowed by stubble, and eyes the color of winter skies over the Volga. But his expression was stormy. "This flight is canceled," he announced firmly, his voice cutting through the murmurs like a command from a captain on a storm-tossed ship. "All passengers for SU-214, please see the rebooking desk. Weather conditions north of here have worsened unexpectedly, and maintenance confirms a critical fault. Safety first." A collective groan rose from the crowd. My heart sank. Mama had cried when I left, clutching my hand and whispering, "Don't work too hard, daughter. Life is short." I needed to get back. Urgent meetings awaited, deals that could secure thousands of jobs in our Siberian factories. But Dimitri's eyes met mine for a brief second, and something flickered there. Recognition? No, impossible. I traveled under a simple alias, dressed in a plain wool sweater and jeans, my long auburn hair tied back modestly. No diamonds, no entourage. Just me, Anastasia, the woman who had built her fortune from her father's quiet legacy after his passing, turning a modest mining operation into a global titan while keeping her face out of the tabloids. I stepped forward. "Sir, is there any way? I must return tonight. My family." Dmitri looked at me directly then, his gaze steady but not unkind. "I'm sorry, miss. Regulations are clear. The flight is grounded. Next one is in 12 hours, if the storm passes." His tone was professional, but there was a weariness in it, as if he carried the weight of 100 disappointed souls every day. He canceled it with a few keystrokes on the terminal, the screen flashing red, not knowing, not even suspecting, that the woman standing before him could buy the entire airline twice over and still have empires to spare. Frustration boiled inside me, but I swallowed it. Russian women learn early to endure winters both literal and metaphorical. I nodded and moved to the side, pulling out my phone to reschedule. But as the crowd dispersed, chaos erupted. An elderly couple argued loudly nearby, the wife in tears because they were supposed to meet their grandson in St. Petersburg for his birthday. A young mother with a fussy toddler paced anxiously. Dmitri moved among them, his voice calm and reassuring, offering vouchers and hotel arrangements. I watched him, intrigued despite myself. There was a quiet strength in how he handled the storm of emotions around him. Hours ticked by. The airport lounge grew dim under fluorescent lights, rain lashing the windows like accusations. I sat on a hard plastic chair, my thoughts drifting to Mama's frail smile, to the letters she still wrote by hand because emails feel cold, Anya. Tears pricked my eyes. This cancellation felt like a cruel joke from the universe, separating me from the life I had fought so hard to balance. Wealth that isolated me, and roots that grounded me. Miss Petrova? Dmitri's voice startled me. He had approached quietly, holding 2 cups of steaming tea from the cafe. I noticed you earlier. You seem more composed than most. Here, it's from my personal flask. Real Russian caravan tea, not that machine stuff. I accepted it, our fingers brushing. A spark, electric, unexpected, shot through me. Thank you, Mr. Ivanov. Or is it Captain? He chuckled softly, sitting across from me uninvited but not presumptuously. Just Dmitri. I'm the operations manager tonight. Pulled extra shift because of the weather. You heading home? St. Petersburg, I replied, sipping the tea. It warmed me from within, earthy and comforting like childhood evenings by the stove. My mother. She needs me close, even if she pretends otherwise. His eyes softened. Family. That's why I do this job, you know. To get people where they belong. My own Baba lives in a village near Tver. I fly her here when I can. We talked then, as the rain drummed on. He spoke of growing up in a modest apartment in Moscow, his father a veteran of the old Soviet factories, his dreams of becoming a pilot dashed by finances, but redirected into ensuring others could fly safely. I shared fragments, carefully, of my life. The loss of my father to illness, how I had taken over the family business at 25, turning it into something vast, yet feeling the loneliness of boardrooms filled with men who saw only numbers. You carry a quiet power, he said at one point, his gaze lingering. Like the Neva in spring, beautiful but strong enough to carve through ice. My cheeks flushed. No one had spoken to me like that in years. Men in my world saw the billions first, the connections, the leverage. Dmitri saw Anastasia, the daughter worried for her mother, the woman who laughed softly at his stories of botched landings and passenger tantrums. As midnight approached, the airport thinned. Rebooking lines snaked endlessly. Dmitri offered to walk me to the hotel shuttle. It's not much, but better than these chairs. I'll make sure you get priority. Outside, the Moscow night was alive with wind and sleet. We shared an umbrella, his arm steadying me as we crossed slick pavement. In that moment, something shifted. I felt seen, not as the heiress worth 50 billion, but as a woman whose heart ached for connection. We reached the modest airport hotel, and he hesitated at the entrance. Will you be all right? He asked, voice low. I think so, I whispered. But inside, turmoil raged. Why did this stranger's concern pierce me so deeply? The next morning brought more delays. The storm had worsened, grounding half the flights. I paced the hotel lobby, my phone buzzing with urgent messages from my executives. A major deal in the Far East hung in balance. 50,000 jobs, partnerships that could reshape Russia's energy landscape. But my thoughts kept returning to Dmitri. I found him later in the operations room, arguing with superiors over schedules. Extend the window, he was saying firmly. These people have lives waiting. I knocked softly. He turned, surprise lighting his face. Anastasia. Come in. Coffee. We talked more, deeper this time. He confided about his late wife, lost to cancer 3 years prior, how the pain still echoed in empty evenings. She loved flying, he said, voice cracking. Said the clouds made problems small. I told him about my father's final days, how holding his hand had taught me that money couldn't buy time. Tears fell between us, shared in the sterile room, binding us in a way neither expected. By afternoon, a twist came. News spread through the terminal. A VIP passenger was demanding special clearance, threatening lawsuits. I recognized the name, one of my competitors, a brash oligarch type. Dmitri stood firm, refusing to risk safety. But pressure mounted. In a heated moment, I stepped in quietly, making a discreet call to my network. Within an hour, approvals came through, not for show, but because I knew the right people in aviation authorities. Flights resumed cautiously. Dmitri found me afterward, eyes wide. How did you? But he didn't press. Instead, gratitude softened him. Thank you for helping those families. We boarded a rescheduled flight together. He had arranged to accompany as operations oversight. In the air, turbulence mirrored our emotions. The plane shuddered, lights flickering. Passengers gasped. Dmitri's hand found mine across the armrest. Breathe, Anastasia. I've got you. In that touch, romance bloomed like wildflowers after thaw. We whispered through the night flight, sharing dreams. He wanted a quiet life with children laughing in a dacha. I confessed the weight of my hidden wealth, how it kept people at arm's length. 50 billion, I said softly at one point, testing the waters. He laughed, thinking it a joke. Then you'd be the richest woman in Russia, able to buy this plane and the stars. I didn't correct him fully, but the truth hovered. He canceled my flight not knowing, and now, here we were, drawn together by delay. Landing in St. Petersburg, the city sparkled under clearing skies, the Hermitage glowing like a jewel. But drama awaited. My mother had taken a turn. A frantic call from her neighbor pulled me. Dmitri, learning of it, drove me himself in a borrowed car through the white nights. Family first, he insisted. At the dacha, Mama lay pale but smiling. Who is this handsome one, Anya? She teased weakly. Dmitri helped make broth, his large hands gentle with herbs from the garden. As Mama rested, we sat on the porch, the river murmuring nearby. Conflict arose then, my world of secrecy clashing with his honesty. I can't keep hiding, I told him, tears streaming. My life is complicated. Companies, responsibilities that could swallow us both. He pulled me close, his embrace warm against the evening chill. I fell for the woman who worried for her mother, who drank tea like it was a lifeline. Whatever else, we'll face it. Together. His kiss was tentative at first, then passionate, filled with the drama of two souls colliding, his grounded strength meeting my vast, lonely empire. Days blurred into weeks. Twists tested us. Paparazzi caught wind somehow, flashing cameras at my penthouse where Dmitri stayed. Headlines screamed of the mystery billionaire and the airline hero. He faced scrutiny at work, whispers of favoritism. I battled internal doubts. Could he love me beyond the billions? One evening, in a heated argument fueled by exhaustion, he shouted, I canceled your flight because it was unsafe, not knowing anything about your wealth. And I'd do it again if it meant keeping you alive. The raw emotion broke us open. I revealed everything. The inheritance, the quiet philanthropy funding orphanages across Siberia, the fear of being used. He listened, then held me as I sobbed. You're worth more than any fortune, Anastasia. You're the flight I never want to cancel. Romance deepened in small, immersive moments. Cooking borscht together in my kitchen, his laughter echoing as flour dusted his nose. Walks along the frozen Neva where he taught me old Soviet songs. Visits to Mama, who grew stronger under his care, calling him son with a twinkle. Conflict peaked when a rival tried to sabotage one of my deals, leaking false stories about Dmitri's past. Jealousy and doubt nearly tore us apart, but in a dramatic confrontation at my office overlooking the city, he fought for us. I love you, not your billions. Let me stand beside you. The powerful conclusion came months later, under the golden domes of a small church near Yaroslavl. Mama watched proudly as we exchanged vows, simple and heartfelt. No lavish spectacle, just family, close friends, and the knowledge that a canceled flight had rerouted our destinies. Dmitri, now by my side in the boardroom and the dacha, had taught me that true wealth was in shared sunsets and steady hands through storms. As I stand here today, watching him play with our young son by the birch trees, my heart overflows. He canceled my flight not knowing I was worth 50 billion, but in doing so, he gave me something priceless, a love that defies empires, a family woven from delay and destiny. Life in Russia, with its harsh winters and resilient hearts, had shown me that sometimes the greatest journeys begin with an unexpected stop. And I, Anastasia Petrova, am forever grateful for the man who grounded me only to lift me higher. The emotions that followed were a tapestry of joy and reflection. Our wedding night was simple, filled with stories around a bonfire at the dacha. Dmitri's eyes reflected the flames as he recounted how my composure in the airport had first drawn him. You didn't yell like the others. You endured, like true Russian soul. I shared how his tea had tasted like home, bridging the gap between my isolated luxury and his everyday heroism. But the path wasn't without further trials. Weeks after our engagement, a massive cyber attack targeted my companies, threatening thousands of livelihoods in remote towns. Dmitri, leveraging his aviation connections, helped coordinate emergency responses, flying in experts when roads were impassable. His dedication during those long nights, poring over maps and logistics beside me, solidified our bond. "We're a team," he whispered one dawn, as the first light touched the Urals in the distance during an urgent trip. The romance wasn't just passion, it was partnership forged in crisis. I remember the day I fully disclosed my net worth in our cozy St. Petersburg apartment. Snow fell softly outside, blanketing the city in silence. "Dmitri, it's true. 50 billion. It's not a joke." He paused, setting down his book, a worn copy of Tolstoy. For a moment, doubt crossed his face, but then resolve. "Then we'll use it wisely. Build schools, help villages like my Baba's. But promise me, Anya, we stay grounded. No private jets for groceries." His humor diffused the tension, leading to laughter that turned into tender embraces. We made love that night with the depth of souls intertwined, emotional and pure, a celebration of trust. No grand gestures needed, just us, wrapped in blankets, dreaming aloud of children who would know both the boardroom's power and the forest's peace. Seasons changed. Spring brought the birth of our daughter, little Elena, named after my mother. The delivery was dramatic, complications requiring a swift transfer to a top clinic I funded anonymously. Dmitri never left my side, his hand gripping mine through the pain. "You're stronger than any storm," he murmured, echoing our airport meeting. Holding Elena for the first time, with Mama beaming from her wheelchair nearby, completed a circle. The woman who had rushed back from her mother's arms now cradled new life, all because one man had the courage to cancel a flight. Conflicts arose again with extended family. Distant cousins, hearing rumors of my wealth through the wedding buzz, descended with pleas and schemes. One particularly tense dinner in Moscow saw accusations fly. Jealousy over my success, doubts about Dmitri as a commoner unfit for such fortune. He stood tall, defending our life. "Anastasia's heart is her true empire. I protect it." His words shamed them into silence, strengthening our resolve. We chose philanthropy over excess, funding hospitals in the regions, scholarships for aspiring pilots, and cultural programs preserving Russian folklore that Mama loved. Summer trips to Lake Baikal became our sanctuary. There, amid crystal waters and taiga forests, we hiked hand in hand. Dmitri would point out birds, telling stories of his youth, while I shared visions for sustainable energy projects. One evening, as the sun dipped in a blaze of orange and purple, he proposed renewing our vows informally. Not for show, but for us. We exchanged simple rings made from Siberian silver, symbols of enduring love. The drama of our beginning felt like a distant but cherished memory, fueling gratitude. Through autumn's golden leaves, business challenges tested us anew. A global market shift threatened layoffs. Late nights in the study, with Dmitri offering insights from his operational expertise, we navigated it. "People over profits," he advised, and we innovated, retraining workers instead. The relief in their eyes when announcements came mirrored the peace in my soul. My once hidden life now intertwined with his, creating balance I never knew possible. Winter returned, bringing blizzards reminiscent of that fateful night. Curled by the fireplace with our children, Elena now toddling, and young Sergei, our son, born the following year, Dmitri read fairy tales. His voice, deep and rhythmic, filled the room with warmth. Mama, healthier than ever thanks to dedicated care, visited often, knitting blankets and sharing wisdom. "You found each other in the storm," she'd say. "Hold tight." Reflecting now, years later, the story feels like an epic tale from Russian literature, full of passion, resilience, and unexpected grace. He canceled my flight, not knowing my worth, but discovering the true value in a shared life. The emotions, fear of loss, joy of discovery, depth of commitment, wove us into something unbreakable. In the vastness of Russia, from Moscow's bustling terminals to St. Petersburg's elegant spires and Yaroslavl's quiet dachas, our love stands as testament. Sometimes, detours lead home. And so, as snow falls gently outside our window once more, I hold Dmitri's hand, our family complete. The billionaire and the operations manager, the daughter and the son-in-law, forever bound by a canceled flight and an open heart. Life's drama continues, but with him, every chapter is one worth living.